pile is one I'm pretty sure that you've probably never seen before. Let's take a look at it. This plane is called the Plane Axe. It's made by the Plane Axe Corporation of Providence, Rhode Island. There's not a lot of information out there on this thing. Most think it was made somewhere from 1960 to 1970. I found this old advertisement. It looks like the maker of this old tool thought a lot of people needed it. It is a combination tool, a plane, axe, hammer, and a nail puller. It was advertised as a tool that would speed up putting shingles on. Problem is that it was for wood shingles, and when this thing was made, the most popular shingle of the time was going to asphalt shingles. When it was new, there was 2 of them in a box. Figure that out. Why would you box up 2 of these things? The only examples ever seen of this thing have got patent pending, and there's no known patent that was ever filed. This one's missing its handle, and it's pretty interesting. A lot of work went into the design of this tool. And look at the T-shaped wedge that's cast right into the steel on the inside where the handle goes. So I'm assuming you drive the handle in, it's going to spread and hold it in there. But maybe that was a failure because this one surely doesn't have its handle. So I can't let not having a handle stop me, so I did the math and I figured out based on the picture the handle's about 10 inches long. I've had this old axe handle laying around for several years and I didn't do anything with it because right on the end here it's got that big knot. It's time to get the old Diston crosscut saw down off the pegboard, dust it off and put it to work. Time to make some sawdust the old-fashioned way. The old saw definitely made short work of that axe handle, and now all I have to do is copy one of those handles. And just like that, the handle is done. Most of the work was done by this dated 1837 white. It's a good size spoke shave. Then I got down to some finer work with a number 67. That's a Stanley. I used my scraper, and I also used this old Keystone back saw. I'm not going to drive that handle in until after the plane axe gets cleaned up. Have to do a little trimming probably around the edges, and then I can put a lacquer finish on it. And it's time to break her down. So not much to break down. What you've got on the right hand side there is the iron cap. One screw that locks it down. There is no lever of any type. It's just held down with a screw. You've got your blade with 2 adjustment screws. And that's it. That's all the parts that there are. The interesting thing is the wedge on the inside of this axe that I thought was cast into the axe. It's a solid piece. How it got in there, I have no idea because it won't come out. I think the first thing I'm going to do is use my scraper to remove the red paint from that lever cap. The old scraper comes in handy for a lot of things. I'm going to clean up the lever cap and the plane axe on my sandblaster. And next it's on to the wire wheel. And those parts turned out pretty nice. The plane axe is nickel plated. There is some nickel loss here and there. If you look at it real close, you can still see where the nickel loss is. Now I'm going to use those wire brushes and steel wool to clean out the inside of the plane body. But before I do that, I'm going to put the red paint on the cap iron. Originally only the top and sides were painted, so that's all I'm going to do. For the paint, I'm using Rust-Oleum Chinese Red in a spray can. A couple light coats is going to do it. First coat is pretty much just a mist. And while the paint dries, I'm going to clean the inside of the plane body. Wire brush here has got some long brushes that can get down in there. But I can't get in with the wire brush, I can stick some steel wool on the end of a pencil or anything else that'll fit. And that's about as good as the body's going to get. Next thing I want to do is focus on the cutting edge. There are a few chips there. I don't know if I want to take all that metal off or not. I'm going to take it over to my 150 grit paper and see what I can do. And here's a look at the freshly sharpened edge. Looking a lot better than what it was. Let's see the other side. I'd say that thing should cut pretty good. There's one more look at her. With that done, I think I can go ahead and finish fitting the handle. So the handle is fit. I'm going to go ahead and give it a coat of lacquer. And for this, I'm going to use Minwax Clear Satin Lacquer. Light coat for the first coat. And many coats to follow. In between about every 3 coats, I'm going to hit it with my sanding sponge and some steel wool. Next, I'm going to clean the iron and the small parts on my wire wheel. Small parts and the cap iron are done, and it's time to sharpen the iron. I squared the iron up, and the line I drew shows you that it's off square. As you can see, I was able to secure it my General number 810 chisel and plane iron sharpener. I had to use another plane iron over top of that tiny little iron to hold it in place. I'm using 150 grit paper to bring the iron back into square and set the 25-degree bevel. So the little iron is razor sharp. The back side has been lapped dead flat, so it's ready to make some shavings. The assembly's done, so let's take one last look at it before I take her for a test drive. Great expectations though about how this thing's going to work. I don't have any old shingles, so for this test drive I've got a 3/16 inch wide piece of maple that I'm going to use. Let's see what it'll do. I'm peeling maple. Looks like it works. I certainly wouldn't recommend this plane for finish work, but for taking off gross amounts of wood like on a wood shingle, for that it passes the test. So the old plane axe was able to make shavings. Look at that. I'm guessing that this old plane axe must have cost a whole lot more than a regular roofing hatchet, and that would probably explain why we don't see a whole lot of them today. It's a neat tool, it's a conversation piece, you don't see a whole lot of them. Here it is. That's it for today. Next off the pile, going to be a surprise, but until then, it's time for supper. Bye.